Hello, my gorgeous, thriving souls. We are talking about freedom today, talking about the energy of freedom. So, welcome. I've really got like a couple different points we want to lean into, but we're going to kind of energetically tap in to just these different levels of what freedom means within, like if you're looking through the lens of these levels within you. And so, welcome, because this is a really good one. I think that even just hearing the word freedom, a lot of people begin to automatically tie it into a notion of where you're living or how your laws are in your, country and things like this. But this is transcending this. This is really talking about an inner freedom. This is talking about how you are able to tap into the energy of freedom without worrying about the external environment in which you are living. And I did write a piece on this, which is definitely tying in a bit to the country feel and kind of those aspects of like ancestral and land, and that's on my Substack if you want to check it out. That's Energy Thrive. But today's conversation, this is more about us. This is more about how it feels to like get into freedom, which is really expansion and getting into the higher aspects of yourself and like reaching for that and allowing yourself to expand into that. And so that's what we're talking about today. So welcome. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in. The first place that we want to tap into is the body. So talking about how freedom feels within the body. And for me, not only having my years of experience in healthcare, watching people heal or succumb into the tragedy of like not being able to balance this within your body and having disease take over and illness take over. Or, I've seen both, obviously. I've also seen the healing. I've seen being able to truly lean into health and feeling better. But the energetic core here, when you're kind of leaning into the place of the body, is rooted in somatics and rooted in clearing what needs to be cleared from the body. Because as we talk about all the time, and especially now that I'm doing so much more in terms of somatic movement with breath work and somatic therapies within that space of being in the intention of releasing these things, we know that the body keeps score, right? So the body is holding on to things that maybe you have talked through, maybe you have mentally like gone over in your mind and, kind of tried to cut that piece out or release that piece. Maybe it's a person that has made you feel a certain way repeatedly, a traumatic experience, whether that was collective experience on the whole or an individual experience. But either way, the body holds it. And what you find when you begin to allow yourself to immerse your practice and to immerse yourself in the practice of somatics, of healing somatically, and starting to like get in touch with your body and ask your body what it's trying to tell you, you will find that even things that you think that you have released, that you think that you have dealt with, that you think that you have been able to kind of overcome, still want that release from the body space because the body has held on to that experience. It's like the energetic signature has still remained. And so we see this come up in like pain in your body or an area that is, feels bound or tight, or a like stored, the storing of something that is essentially asking to be let go. And so you'll see as you are allowing yourself to ease into a breathwork session and kind of really relax with motion and movement, though, not just relaxing like you're in a pool floating by yourself, but with movement and motion to it, it kind of opens up this doorway for your body to begin to release. And what that looks like is usually tremor, shaking. Sometimes tears are coming. It's emotional release. Also, it's, these things are not like siloed by themselves. You are all one big experience of yourself, which includes all the things, emotions, physical movements, things like that. And we will also see a muscle contraction happen sometimes, and the tremor or the shaking is really a prominent part of the releasing. So we see that. And if you look at someone else experiencing it, I'm gonna be honest, like, especially if you haven't seen it before, it's a little bit scary. If you're like, what the hell's happening? And you just don't understand. But this is the place where freedom is created within the body. Because when you are not bound to that anymore, and it actually gets to be transmuted and like metabolized in the body and be able to really leave or, refocus the energy to do something else more effective in your body, it is an amazing feeling. And so that is really the crux of why I do breath work and why I facilitate breath work, because this experience in itself has been one of the most transformational things, and recognizing how transformational it is, and then kind of being able to look with my mind's eye because of my past experience and my healthcare experience, especially, I'm like, this could be so incredibly healing and helpful for people, because when you're holding on to it, it just stays, and it does begin to create things in your body that you don't want there. So this is part of it. The other piece when you're thinking about freedom from a body standpoint is, bringing in the ideology that your body is a temple. And it is. It's meant to be treated that way. So not only is it a temple, but how I see it, it's like you're a giant antenna. What you're supposed to be is on. You're supposed to be on. You're supposed to be in tune and in touch with the things around you. You're supposed to be able to pick up on what's going on, whether it's a person in the room, whether you're in nature, whether you notice that the woods get silent and you're feeling like, ooh, something's happening in the woods. And you might not know what it is, but like the animals are quiet, and you know that the birds were chirping a little bit ago and now they're not. Maybe it's the reaction to you, but you're in tune with it. And so your whole body is meant to be an antenna. Your whole body is meant to be on and responding. But when you're feeding your body a bunch of sugar, when you're dousing yourself with alcohol, or whatever else, like something to kind of numb yourself, you are not on. And that is the ultimate freaking lie, is when you have been told that, oh, this is how you relax. Oh, this is what you need to do. All you're doing is dulling your own senses because you're not on in that sense. Now, you might be tapped into a little bit of a different place. I know, like, psilocybin, and like there's so many things that are so popular right now, but at the end of the day, like, you only are needing that because you can't figure out how to access that without doing it. And accessing it without doing it is the goal. It's the ultimate being on. It's the ultimate being tapped in. Like, you don't have to do that. Are they tools and facilitators? Yes, they can be. Are they teachers? Yes, they can be. But ultimately, there's a ton of people, myself included, that do not need to do that, because I can tap right into those areas and those things that we want to experience and be and do and have without having that in my life. And that's okay. If you do, it's not saying with judgment. It's simply to say that these are tools that you might not always need to use. And that ultimately, being tapped in and tuned on with your antenna being able to feel the hair stand on end and feel the vibration and the sense of other people around you and the environment around you. You are part of this world, and your body is part of this world. And having freedom within that is also being healthy enough to understand that unbounding yourself from the pain, unlocking yourself from the trauma, and reaching out to an area in your life where you are so tapped in that you feel like you're part of it, not just observing it or not understanding it. That is the place where the freedom lies within your body. So that is what I will say for your body. For your mind, let's talk about your mind for a minute. Your mind is another place where a lot of blocks to your freedom might exist. So your mind is incredible, right? It is not only the storehouse for memory, it is, tied into with so much sensation. You immediately get maybe a memory if you smell something, if you hear a song, if you are in a place and the wind blows and you feel exactly the way you felt when you were 9 and your dad was there, and all the things kind of come rushing into you. And it's through your mind, because your mind is absolutely beautiful and it's evolved to be able to have all those things and have the memories. But the pieces of our mind that have evolved and the pieces that are what people call the lizard brain or the monkey mind, like they're not really the same, With our mind, we have so much freedom to be able to reach and go and do new things. There is the concept of neuroplasticity. It's so funny when I think back on how, I started as a nurse and they would be like, well, you drink a bunch of alcohol, like you're killing all your brain cells and, that's it. You're just dumb, forever, because we didn't think that the brain could regenerate brain cells or that new neural pathways could be developed. But that's not true. Like, we know that now with the science and the research behind neuroplasticity. So when you think about the mind, a lot of times here, we have to recognize the stories that are there that are meant and wiring ourselves for survival. And a lot of times those stories are centered in something that is meant to keep you safe. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's scary. Don't do that. Shouldn't do that. So recognizing our stories that we tell ourselves is probably the very first thing, the very first step, awareness of your stories to becoming to have more freedom in your mind. Because your mind is a tool that will be able to serve you if you are the one driving your mind. You can't let your mind be in the driver's seat. I guess that's really the bottom line here. You can't be the one being like, well, I thought that. I think that every day, all the time. Well, yeah, we have thousands of thoughts a day. And are you monitoring that? Are you checking in on that? Or are you just believing it all? I always think that about myself. I always think that when I look in the mirror and I think, gosh, my butt is so big, or whatever. Ladies, we know this, we understand each other on how some of this stuff comes through, right? But having a big butt, and I cannot lie, is one thing. And then having a belief about yourself that is deeper than that and that is more impactful for, how you're living your life, how you're showing up every day. These are the ones that you really want to draw awareness to because they can be so detrimental. And when you're only believing the things that your mind is churning out at you that aren't always the most positive things, then you're not leaving room for you to be in the driver's seat telling your mind, sorry, dude, that's actually not it. I'm not, time out. I'm not thinking that right now. And what I usually do is when I'm in that mode where I have that awareness and I have a thought pop up, I picture it like a little tiny figurine, and I can picture it and I just flick it off into the stratosphere. I'm like, burp, and it's got to go because I am thinking a new thought. And so usually if I'm thinking a new thought, then that is exactly where the neuroplasticity comes in, because you choose consciously to think a new thought. And that is where they literally have done brain scans on this, watching someone, and believe me, I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Me telling you about it, I don't know that I'm going to be able to like tell you about it perfectly, but they were essentially watching, they were watching the synaptic connections happen when somebody had the same thought. And then they watched what happened when somebody chose to not continue that thought and to choose a new thought. And it was like that other one slowly died off. It shriveled. It was like the little energetic, nourishment that it needed wasn't there anymore. So it just like died away. One of the things that you have that kind of is this bridge layer between our mind and like the energetic layer that I also see in my mind, in my third eye, is the programs that exist and live within us, which is really all of our beliefs. And for most of us, these beliefs are things that we have had put upon us by our parents, by society. Like these are our beliefs. And I'll give you an example of one recently, which was that I was working with someone recently who had a belief that it wasn't okay to rest. Think about how that might impact you. So going through the layers of that, thinking about it's not okay to rest. It's not okay to rest. What happens if I'm resting? If I'm resting, I'm lazy. I'm not productive. If I'm not productive, then I'm not getting the stuff I need done. If I'm not getting the stuff I need done, then I, will lose my job, and then I won't have a house. And then, it ties back down so deeply. Some of these beliefs that we have tie down so incredibly deeply that you're touching into a place that is genetic. It is like epigenetic. Because when you start getting into that thought frame where you're talking about how resting might literally hurt you physically, you're tying back into a place where you were a tribal, organizational community, and where if you were not working and doing the work that had to be done to get food, to gather harvest, to hunt, to make the fires, to all these things, then you were at risk of dying, right? You were. And that is what it feels like to your body when you start to try to just take a nap or take a rest or listen into your body when your body's asking for rest. And for this, you have to recognize it for what it is and look all the way down to the layers. If I don't do that, what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens? It's Katie Byron doing the work. So like you go, what is this belief that I have? I believe that it's not okay to rest. It's not okay. Why do I believe that? I believe that because then I'm lazy, because I'm not productive. What happens if you're not productive? I'm not going to get my work done. Critical things that are going to need to be done are not going to get done if I rest. I cannot rest because if I don't get the critical things done, then I potentially, the most important things are not going to get accomplished. And that might leave me at risk of like dying or not being nourished or not being safe in a home. So you take that all the way down to its root and then you link it back to the very first thing. So you're saying that if what you want to do right now is take a 20-minute nap, you're beating yourself up about taking a 20-minute nap. I can't do that. Why? You go all the way down and you ask yourself in a logical, like truly from a sense of yourself, is that true? Is it true that if I take a 20-minute nap that I'm not going to have a house or food and die? Is that true? No, it's not true. That's not true. And that right there, my friend, that right there is the beginning of the understanding that your awareness of your beliefs is literally the crucial thing that you have to start to reform and reshape and get that neuroplasticity going to do something different and make a different choice. And then you tell yourself, dude, like, hey self, hey body, it's okay. I will be okay and I am safe to rest. In fact, I'm going to like churn out so much more because I just rested. My body needs a little rest. I feel it. My body's telling me I need a rest. And then when you do it, you actually come out that much better because you did get to rest, right? It's like slowing down to speed up. But in our belief that's stuck inside of us, that you have to have the mind frame of having an awareness to, and that belief stuck inside of us, it's very scary. It feels very scary, but you have to get curious enough to start to understand why it feels scary. So in meditation, in breath work, these are the things that begin to come through in sessions. These are the things, because you might come to a session saying, I don't know, I just feel so freaking tired. I cannot like get my shit together. I just feel like I'm tired and I need to rest. And then I just push. I've been pushing myself and pushing myself because I know that's bullcrap. I don't need to take a nap. I don't need to rest. Like, what am I talking about? Yeah. So like we start there and then we get in. And what we come out with usually is some place where a mantra is popping through. The mantra that would probably pop through for this would be, it's safe to rest. It's safe to rest. So how much freedom do you have when you begin to understand that your mind, your body, the story you're telling that yourself, all of these things line up and allow you to just release them? That's not true. Release them. I'm done with that. Release them. I'm able to work that out. Release this from my body. Think about how good it feels, how much lighter you feel. The person that came in that day was literally like, I am going to, first of all, it was almost a little bit of a meditation. So she felt like she was doing her own work to break against that story right then. But it was truly an accomplishment to get to the place where she felt in her body, true to herself, that it was safe to rest. So this is freedom, right? This is freedom. And energetically speaking, there's so much that needs to be able to flow through us. We breathe in, just our breath coming in and out. That's its own form of energy. Our body moving when it needs to move is its own form of energy. But when you are really stuck and you're having so much of this being bogged down, it's like your energy is just like really contracted and tight within itself. And as you begin to release things that need to be released, traumas, experiences, pains, as you are able to release this from your body, recognize within your belief system and like release some of these things, you slowly begin to unfurl. And when you are able to unfurl, you can see it in a person. It's like the difference between seeing someone that you just feel like you know exactly what they look like when they're really lit up, and when, it's the person you look at and you're like, what's wrong? Because you just know like some crap's going on with them. And the thing about it is sometimes you don't even know what it is, but you just know you're not feeling yourself. And that is the difference between being contracted and squished and bound up by all of this, all of the things that we carry with us, and doing the work to be able to slowly unfurl. And just what happens naturally is you begin to expand and you begin to turn on. You begin to reach out. You begin to interact and be tuned in. And this is a freedom that is just yours. No one can take that from you. And when you're interacting, P.S., here, so expanded, and you find other people that are so expanded, it is freaking amazing. There's nothing like it because it doesn't feel very common right now. Am I wrong? A lot of the people who are searching and digging and looking for this kind of expansion in their lives, they're kind of just dotted all over the place in the world. And that's literally like, I've seen this. It looks like little tiny dots just everywhere, but not a lot of them are together. But this is the purpose of this podcast. This is the purpose of talking about expanding and following your light and finding your light and unfurling everything within you so that you can begin to expand. And the more that we do it, the more we reach each other. And the more that we reach each other, the more that we begin to follow, and it begins, to become stronger and stronger. And there's just more lights, like boop, 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 like all over the place. It's so good. So that is the synergy, everybody coming together. Synergy means putting two things together and making faster a more potent thing. Whatever that's transformation, working harder, like at something, going faster at something, working better at something, that is synergy. And so coming together as people, coming together as doing energetic work and movement and somatic breath work, coming together and doing meditation and energetic healing, like all the synergy is here. That's why we synergy and then we thrive, right? All right, guys. So these are all the different places where we are experiencing freedom for ourselves deep within. If you want to have access to the writing that I wrote about this, I just wrote a bit of a short poem about it. So check it out. It's on my Substack at Synergy Thrive. There's also a membership on my Substack if you want your own meditation to go with this thought, with this theme for today, leaning into your own freedom and expansion. That's for you. Go check that out also on my Substack. And last but not least, we have our Rising Within membership, and that is going to be live calls, meditations and healings, and breath works and community. So we're just starting that. I know I've been talking about that for a while, but we're really getting it off the ground and we're opening the doors. So go check that out. I will link everything in the show notes below. And overall, I'm just so happy you're here. And just like always, I hope that you find beauty in something small today. Check out all the things, whatever level that you are looking to be involved, just do the thing. If you are just looking for a level of you want to discover on your own, healing meditations and like recordings are a perfect place to start. If you're like, no, I feel like I just want this total expansion, connecting in with other people in community with other people who are expanded too, then the Rising Within membership is really the thing. All right, guys. So thank you. And I cannot wait to see you soon. Have a good one.